Well, we had warned in December that you might need an international driving permit to drive in Spain and to drive in the European Union, and explained that there were two different types of permits. Not all permits were valid for all EU countries, just to complicate things even further. But the position now is, after the UK had expressed concerns about some language in the royal decree, it's now been established that you will not need an international driving permit to drive in Spain for 9 months. As I say, there's no need to rush. The permits are there. You will need to use them after 9 months if there is a no-deal Brexit. Bear in mind that if the withdrawal agreement is adopted and the UK Parliament passes and approves the withdrawal agreement,
you won't need them anyway.
Then none of this is necessary, because until the end of 2020 we will continue in exactly the same way as we are in relation to driving licenses, and indeed to a number of other areas.
Now, there's been a bit of confusion because in yesterday's statement you said that the Spanish royal decree doesn't apply to Gibraltarians because it only applies to British motorists who live in Spain and are wanting to swap their British driving licenses for Spanish ones. And that's caused a bit of a panic, hasn't it?
That was the lack of clarity which the UK and us had identified. I mean, that was the wording of the decree in its recitals, and then in the substance were not particularly clear. That has been cleared up this morning, so we wanted to make sure that people knew straight away. But bear in mind, it's not something new. We had warned people as far back as December that there may be a need for international driving permits. But as I said, the government has plenty of these permits in stock. We also ensured, with the support of the United Kingdom, that the Geneva Convention was ratified. So the Vienna Convention was ratified by the UK. That has been extended to Gibraltar and to other territories. From the date of that extension, those permits will also be available, and that date is expected to be the end of March.
Well, you say there are plenty of these blank documents, but how well prepared are we in terms of human resources? Because there are tens of thousands of vehicles and only a couple of civil servants behind the desk.
Well, bear in mind there are something like 30,000 license holders. So even if you were to open, 10 counters, you'd have 3,000 people queuing at each of the counters, assuming that everybody goes at the same time. So the point that I'm making, or the government is making, is that there really is no need to panic, that we have assurances. It's pretty clear now that the contingency measures do apply to Gibraltar issued and UK issued driving licenses, that people will not need a permit for the first 9 months from our departure from the European Union, and that they will need a permit after that. But there is all this time in which to go and obtain an international driving permit.
Now, Dr. Garcia, on a slightly different but related topic, you've issued a guidance note on airlines and traveller rights. Can you tell us where things stand at the moment in the event of a no-deal Brexit?
No, the situation is that, bear in mind, Gibraltar has no flights to the European Union. After the Withdrawal Agreement, we tried flights to Madrid. That didn't work, and the situation is that now there are no flights between Gibraltar and the European Union. The flights that we have, as you know, are to the United Kingdom. The principle of the right to overfly is enshrined at the moment in European Union law. When the UK leaves the European Union, we will lose that legal framework. So in the same way as we've done with driving permits, we're looking for other legal frameworks that exist internationally. Some of those are international conventions or international agreements. In this case, there are agreements on international air services with transit rights, the right to overfly, in this case, overfly the European Union and land at Gibraltar. And there is separately the question of flights between Gibraltar and Morocco. Those are now covered by an EU-Morocco aviation agreement. That will be replaced by a UK-Morocco aviation agreement at the end of March, or when we leave the European Union, and that agreement will include Gibraltar.